Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and we're going to be back working on the DeLorean Roadster again. So last video we got the engine on the run stand and running. Evan did a great job of taking everything apart and just checking out what was going on with the engine. It looked really great. It's fired up like surprisingly quick. I couldn't believe how fast it was that it just turned right over and fired, which was fantastic. We did all our normal tests, timing it, checking all the temps. All that stuff looks good, so we're ready to take all the fun parts off of the engine that we pulled out of the DeLorean Roadster and the old engine and put them on this. The nice thing is that these are both engines that were running, so we do not have an engine that's been sitting out in the woods for years that we're trying to break free. We can basically just swap the parts around and hopefully get this thing all set up on the run stand with the parts, the good stuff off that engine, and use the good bottom end from this one and make a nice healthy runner for the car. And we're going to try and get it back in and get it fired up and get the new heart in the DeLorean Roadster. So let's get going.
That is kind of brand spanking new.
All right, Steve's had a couple days of work here just between all the things that are required to get an engine put back together. It's not just as simple as swapping the cam. He had to swap the lifters. We ended up finding so I don't know if we ever talked about it, but we had
bad lifters.
Yeah, so we had noticed a problem before, and we had kind of done a band-aid. One of the lifters was loose, so Steve found a second one when he was doing it.
That one was this one. Yeah, the adjusters are you can turn them by hand, and these things are supposed to be really tight.
Yeah, those threads, however they are, they're almost like factory galled or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do an interference fit.
Yeah.
Almost, not quite, but they. So we had one that was coming loose on the engine when we were running it in the car, and one time Steve actually even pulled the intake off, and we readjusted the valves because we never checked them, and we found a couple that were loose, but one was really bad, and that was the one that was loose. So he found a second one. We also found valve spring that was broken.
Oh yeah, it was cracked when I started taking it apart. It broke. Yeah.
Yeah. So a factory, like we've said a few times, this engine was something that somebody found an old stuck hot rod engine and just threw it together to run it, for fun or whatever. And I tried putting it in a car, and we found a bunch of stuff. So not mad, just something that happens. So we noticed that Steve found the spring broke when he was taking it apart, and we saw that right where it broke, might be hard to see, but you could see it's pitted. So this thing that engine probably sat with some water or something in it, and it got pitted, and that broke. So that would have been a problem very soon. And so we found multiple things. So that was good. So Steve ended up changing the lifters out. We put adjustable tappets in it, put the NOS Winfield 3/4 cam in it, which should be a pretty good sounding street cam. I opted not to use the 400 lift for E-grind that was in that, because this is a pretty small bore, just almost stock engine otherwise. So we did that. He changed all the studs. There was a lot of
stuff.
Yeah,
there was a lot went into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I ended up machining some stock and making a modification for the tack drive. It never worked before with the way they had it, so I actually went on the mill and took round bar stock and created a square stock for it that fit. So we're gonna also just make sure that the tack drive is spinning as we're running it, because that didn't work before the way that it was on the car. So we got water in it. We put this water glass in to try and seal up any of the head stud leaks that might occur. And we're going to run it and just make sure everything's kind of tuned in and all good. And then we can give it the stamp of approval to put back in the car. Fingers crossed.
Go.
car works just fine. I don't know why everybody freaks out. Like, I don't know. I mean, why don't I have a stereo in my car? Why don't I have air conditioning? Sometimes I just. SN down, say rotate. Yep. The other way, it's right about there. Tight. That or we tilted it a bunch.
Probably tilted it.
Yep. There. Just keep it against the firewall. All right?
Yeah.
Just keep it. Just about there where all this slipping.
There we go. It's starting to slide. Just a little bit. There it is.
We got a ways to go.
Yep.
All right, so Steve got everything buttoned back up on this and put together. He's got coolant or water put in it with that water glass again, just to make sure we seal anywhere that might have some leaks. This particular engine with these heads and these manifolds can be a bit of a pain to seal up. We have some washers we put in there that have the neoprene seal around them that seem to help, but we still had, on the other engine, we had some problems with sealing. So we're gonna start it up here with everything in the car hooked up, and then we're gonna take it for a test drive and see how it does. Just driving around, typical, just drive around the neighborhood a couple miles just to feel it out and show you guys what it's like to drive this thing now.
Watch this side here, you're kind of close. Yeah. Okay.
All right, so got it outside, idling nice and low and quiet. Very nice and quiet engine, which is great. I definitely have to do something about the mufflers. This thing's way too quiet at idle, but sounds pretty good. So Steve's got the trusty screwdriver with him. We're gonna take a trip around the block, see how it acts, get it up to temp. We're trying to get this water glass just one more time to get up to temp and seal up any little seeps, head stud leaks, any of that stuff. It seems to have worked very well so far. So we'll jump in the car and take it around the neighborhood and see how it acts. Weird that the clutch is so, those new changes with the clutch, it's like, feels like a hydraulic clutch in this thing now.
It does. I thought the clutch wasn't even working. It's so smooth and easy now.
I think that's what it's supposed to be like.
Oh, so when you do it right, that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, that makes some sense.
That's why that lever is so long on a 32, I think.
Yeah, way more leverage with that thing.
Yeah.
You're good.
We're just gonna do a short test drive because we're trying to juggle, building a mezzanine right now, so.
There's a lot going on right now.
A little bit going on, so we're gonna do an abbreviated test drive, and then I'm gonna have to do some driving on my own at night.
clutch feels fantastic now.
Riding in the car, it even feels better riding in the car. It's smoother.
Yeah, before it was real notchy because I think it was kind of hitting on the floorboard because it was at that funny angle they had.
Yep.
That's all the stuff you don't know because we got missing puzzle pieces. Because when we got it, the pedals were there, but there was no clutch arm or engine in it, so we didn't know what it had. So because it had 39 pedals, we thought, oh, maybe it had 39 clutch arm. Nope.
That wasn't the case. Yeah, this car was like doing a puzzle with no picture.
It sounded like a toolbox.
It did sound a bit like that.
£70 of oil on it.
It sounds good.
Seems nice and quiet.
Yeah, the engine is running nice and quiet.
Engine is insanely quiet. I can't believe how quiet the engine is.
It sounds really good.
Because that other one, the lifters, we had a couple lifters that were loosening themselves, so it's like real clattery when you were driving.
Yep. Yeah, this one sounds much nicer. Nice, just hit 160.
Yeah, we'll have to see what it does.
Yeah, see what it does.
I don't know if that other engine ran so cool because the oil was burning. We were using oil as coolant as well.
Yeah, that might be a thing.
Some people do water meth injection.
Yeah.
We do oil injection.
It seemed to work for that one.
That thing ran so cool. That was like the coolest running flathead I've ever had.
Yeah.
That's how it almost hurt to take it out.
Good this way.
Special one, so I was pretty bummed out not being able to drive it.
Right, yeah.
As soon as we started driving the spring, it was like my everyday car. I was going everywhere in it.
Luckily we have parts in stock. It didn't get tied up for too long.
Yeah. But now you got you got a week or a couple weeks or a month of like making sure everything drives and nothing weird's gonna happen. I'm always on edge.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well now what's gonna... That engine was really noisy because it... Oh yeah, here. Yeah, it's just not returning.
Yeah.
Yep. But that other engine was so noisy, like, I didn't realize how noisy that engine was.
Me neither.
Because now just driving along, everything sounds tighter and quieter.
It does.
All right, so took a successful first test drive. I only give quotations because there's a couple odds and ends as expected. We threw a different distributor, like a test distributor, if you will, in that I put a new condenser and stuff in, and I don't think the timing was ever, the timing brake and the timing adjustment on the distributor was ever touched. So it's very lazy driving it with this camshaft and all that stuff. It doesn't do very well. So that's something we do on like all these cars. So we're gonna run it. I have a Kong ignition, a dual coil ignition that Pat Mason redid, and we decided to just take one step at a time. We were gonna throw it right on, but we needed condensers, so we decided just to throw a stock one on. So Steve's gonna adjust all that. We're gonna get that set up. We got to look at that starter thing that's grinding. That's magically like all the same parts we were using before, except for the oil pan. This does have a large clutch on it. This thing has the like 11-inch truck clutch on it, which the engine already had. So we figured bonus, we'll just leave it on because it's a larger clutch. But something weird is going on when the Bendix is engaging. You might have heard me when we were driving talking about that. So that we got to look at. timing, or the fuel mixture, obviously we talked about that a little bit. This is a smaller bore engine. Camshaft we put in is a 3/4 cam instead of more of like a race cam. So we toned everything down just a little bit. So we just need to tune to adjust all that stuff. But as far as driving goes, it was very, very quiet. It didn't heat up or anything. It's 90 some degrees, and the little bit of driving we did and idling through my town, it didn't even get up to 180, which is about what it was doing before. It seems pretty similar. So I think once we get everything dialed in, it should be pretty darn good. But Steve and I were very impressed with how quiet this engine is. You don't really realize it, but when I was driving this thing before, the engine was very noisy. I don't know if, I think more than just lifter noise. I think the engine was probably, because it was worn out, was quite noisy when you're driving, and you just thought, it's an old race, old hot rod engine. That's not quite sure about that. So that engine was a good engine, but it was obviously worn out, and that's why we did all of this procedure. So it's nice to have something in that's a little bit more fresh of an engine. We shouldn't be using, our ratio of oil to fuel shouldn't be nearly as high. So hopefully that's taken care of. I had great oil pressure. I don't know what else to say. So just the normal stuff. When you take a car apart and put it back together with other old parts, you run into some of these little things we're doing. But it's nice to have the DeLorean Roadster back together. We were trying to keep this car on the road this summer because we had a couple events we wanted to take it to. So that's why instead of waiting for the other engine to get rebuilt and putting it back in, that's a long process. At least we got this engine in. We can drive around. Sure, it might not be as fast as the other engine, but we won't be using as much oil and have a worry of an old worn out engine letting us sit. So that's all we have for this one. This is just the saga of playing with these old cars. Nothing real exciting here, but happy to get it back on the road. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.